Hello, it's Kyle. I am making this video as a sort of thank you, I guess, for over 200 subscribers. It's not like a ton by any means, but it's a decent amount still. And I like to think of it as over 200 people tune in to listen to the podcast or watch my videos regularly or whatever. Like they decide that they like our stuff enough to subscribe. So I appreciate that. And I figured I'd make a video going over my Blu Ray collection as kind of a sort of thank you kind of video for you all who would be interested in that sort of thing. If you care at all. Some people might not care, and that's fine. But this is just kind of something that I wanted to go over. I've been thinking about making a video like this for a bit of time now, so we'll just see how it goes. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, and I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's going to just be kind of off the cuff, sort of, just going over the different Blu-rays I have, maybe talking about the movies a little bit, maybe how I got the Blu-rays, and I will let you know that it's not huge. It's not a big Blu-ray collection by any means. There's a very select few movies that I own. And a lot of the stuff that I don't include that I do own are old Western movies that I got from my grandpa. So I haven't watched those yet. I have no idea what those are going to be like, but I figured I'd just go over the ones that I myself have purchased or have been gifted. So I guess we'll get started. So I'm going to get these out of the way. And like I said, I'm going to go in alphabetical order. So that includes getting the number stuff out of the way. And I have 21 and 22 Jump Street, which, you know, I've seen them. I've seen them both. They're funny, you know. I haven't seen them in a long time. There's things about them that I appreciate for sure. And I like the chemistry that Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum have in those movies. Those were actually a gift from someone. I did not go out of my way to buy these, so I probably wouldn't own them if they weren't gifted to me, but the person who gave them to me was very nice because not only did they give me these, they gave me another Blu-ray, which I very much am thankful for. Not that I'm not thankful for, you know, the thing that makes Kanye West not hate Jewish people anymore. But needless to say, there is another one out of all those that I really like that he got me. So I appreciate that from him. I got Blade Runner 2049. Ordered this off of Amazon. And this is my favorite Denis Villeneuve movie. I think that it is just near perfect. And despite the runtime, I never get sick of watching it. And that's how much I love it. I like the first one quite a bit. It's a decent sci-fi flick that came out in the 80s. But this one just elevates it so much. It makes the first movie better, in my opinion. And it adds so much to it. Got Collateral, which is probably the worst fucking cover I think I have out of all the Blu-rays that I own. Like, this looks like if you had never heard of Collateral before or have not seen it, this looks like it would be the kind of movie that would go straight to streaming, like on Paramount Plus or some shit. Like, it's egregiously bad. And there are like much better posters for this movie out there that you can get online or whatever. But for some reason, the version I got off Amazon was just super fucking generic. Like, it's just really not good. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. Next up, I have Django, another Jamie Foxx flick. So that's pretty awesome. This is my favorite Tarantino. I think that if someone were to tell me that they had a different favorite Tarantino, it would make perfect sense. Everybody's got a different taste when it comes to his filmography. Some people just don't like him. But I think that this one specifically encompasses everything that I personally like from Tarantino, which is the sort of goofy, over-the-top violence that sort of pays homage to like old spaghetti westerns. It's got great dialogue, great characters, great writing, and I just love the way that it's presented. Just the filmmaking itself, I think, is really good. We got Up next, the standard film bro pick, which is Drive. I know that Drive has been kind of memed at this point. It's like, oh, it's literally me. Ryan Gosling. But it does stand on its own as a really good movie overall. Like, meme value aside, jokes aside, like, it's a decent flick. And I don't think I would own it if I didn't think that it was at least great. And I really do love this movie. And it is, in my opinion, Nicholas Winding Refn's best film. I'm going to flub a lot, so just letting you know, I'm running off of like 5 hours of sleep, which I know for some of you is like, oh, I get 3 hours of sleep every night and I'm fine. It's like, good for you. You have the animal instincts of a bear, I guess. Next up is Green Room. My friend Gideon showed me this one. I had not watched it before. This was probably 3 years ago when I first saw this, and I really love it. I think that as far as suspenseful thrillers go, survival thrillers specifically, you can't go wrong with this. I think that it has the perfect amount of tension that you can get in a movie, and I really like the characters. There's not a whole lot in the way of characterization, but I like the way that the characters interact and influence the story and kind of go about the way that they go about doing things. Not to spoil anything. Also, rest in peace, Anton Yelchin. Sucks how he died. Don't look it up. Okay. Next up, I have this steel case of all 3 John Wick movies. So I'll open it up. As you can see, there are all 3 discs inside. Well, I shouldn't say all 3 because now there's 4 of them, and I'm definitely gonna get the 4th one on Blu-ray, which I'm excited for because that one is my favorite out of all of them. But I personally love the John Wick franchise. I know they're not perfect. They're not the greatest action movies that are made. I think The Raid kind of just edges them out for me, but I love the tone of them, and I'm a big softie when it comes to Keanu Reeves, even though I don't think he's the greatest actor. I think that he's perfect for this role, and I think that John Wick just hits that sweet spot for me, when it comes to both action and tone in a movie. And of course, I have the individual Blu-rays for the 3 movies that are out right now. The Blu-rays I bought myself, the individual ones, and the steel case was actually gifted to the podcast from Mac's friend Justin, otherwise known as J Hall, good friend of the pod. So shout out to him. He did not have to get us anything in the way of a gift, because I think I met him once and already he was like, I love the podcast, here's a gift. I was like, okay, well, thank you, appreciate it. Those are nice words. Next up, I have Jojo Rabbit. I really enjoy this one as sort of a, almost straightforward comedy, but it's got a lot of different dark undertones. I mean, it's about Nazis, essentially, and the sort of influence that fascism can have on impressionable minds. But it's also got a lot of good comedic moments in it that I think Taika Waititi just nails. So I really like that. All right. Next up is the second in this collection that would be considered a film bro pick. And it's sort of become a bit of a meme. It's sort of become notorious in a way amongst film bros and film community just in general. But I really loved this movie when it came out. I feel like every time I watch it, I might like it a little bit less, but there's still something about it that I just resonate with on a filmmaking level, and that is, of course, Joker. And I'm excited to check this one out just to kind of gauge how I feel about it after not watching it for so long. And I think it's been at least a couple years since I've seen it. Probably not since 2020. So I'm looking forward to checking it out again. It's been a long time. And I know that when I first watched it, like with a lot of people, it really hit me and it really resonated with me. But I don't know if that's going to be the case this next time. But regardless, I still don't think I'm going to not like it. I still think that there's a lot to really take away from it, like Joaquin Phoenix's performance and some of the visual stuff. And I really like the music too, with Hildur, whatever her name is. I can't pronounce it, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Next up, Lego Movie. I actually got this at Walgreens for $10, so that was pretty cool. I saw they had a very, very, very small Blu-ray section, and I looked through it, and honestly, Lego Movie was really the only one worth picking up because all the other ones were like Taken, Taken 2, some Bruce Willis movie or whatever that came out within the last 5 years. Not a whole lot that was, you know, worth its weight in salt, I guess. This one, I've only seen once, and I really want to watch it again, but I want to watch it with someone else watching it for the first time, because the first time I watched this, I was blown away. Mandy, with Nicolas Cage. This is by far, in a way, my favorite Nick Cage movie, and I just love the whole look and feel of this movie. The whole tone is just drenched in this sort of like neon synthy kind of vibe. It's really well shot. Like, it's probably visually one of the best movies I've seen outside of like Nicholas Winding Refn, you know? And I think that Nick Cage just kills it. It's like the perfect mix between like good performance Nick Cage and batshit insane Nick Cage that you get in, you know, a different sort of amounts of each of his movies. This one, I think, balances that perfectly. Andrea Rosenbaum is good. Risenborough. Sorry. Andrea Risenborough is good, and I like all the performances. Just a very aesthetically pleasing movie, and the music is pretty killer. Next up, we've got The Lighthouse. Probably my favorite R-Pat movie, definitely my favorite Willem Dafoe movie, and far and away my favorite Robert Eggers movie. This is a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. This is, I think, one of the best film experiences I've had, going to the theater to watch this and then leaving the theater and just having your eyes kind of try to readjust to the different colors around you. That whole experience in of itself was really cool, but I guess that doesn't have anything to do with the movie itself. But regardless, great acting, great visuals, the tone. I love surrealism. If I found a physical copy of I'm Thinking of Ending Things, I would pick it up in a heartbeat, but sadly it's a Netflix original, so I don't think they have one for that. Not a legal means anyway. Sure, I could get something outside the bounds of the law, but for right now I'm going to stay a good boy. Nocturnal Animals. Sorry about the glare. I'm going to try to, not have that in this video as much, but yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, Amy Adams. I love this movie. I think it's one of my favorite endings to a movie that I've seen, and it's stuck with me for so long. It's kind of a tough watch. I've only seen it once, but I'm curious to revisit it. I've recommended this movie specifically to a bunch of people when I first tell them that I'm into movies, and they start asking me questions like, oh, what should I watch? What should I watch? And usually Nocturnal Animals, at least in the US, is on Netflix. And so I tell them, oh, if you have Netflix, you should watch Nocturnal Animals. It's really good. I think you'll enjoy it. And every single time, everybody enjoys it. So it's one of those that I can just kind of default to with people if they ask what's a good movie recommendation that they haven't seen yet, and I can just throw that one out there, and it's usually a hit. So I'm kind of proud of that fact. Not that I'm the one giving them the movie, but just introducing it to people's nice. The Northman. I have both a Blu-ray of it and a 4K. The 4K was gifted to me from a friend, so thank you, Drew, for that. He's also the same one that gave me 21 and 22 Jump Street, but The Northman isn't the movie that he gave me that kind of, makes more sense than 21 and 22 Jump Street. We're going to get to that later. But yeah, Robert Eggers. I love this movie. Not as much as The Lighthouse, but I still think it's really wonderful. If you just want to feel like a man, just watch The Northman. It'll grow some hair on your chest. This next movie was probably one of my favorite movies for the longest time, and still is, I would say. The Revenant. Whenever someone would ask me what my favorite movie was, for the longest time, without a shadow of a doubt, I could tell them The Revenant and mean it 100%. Because I think that visually it's stunning, the acting's great. I think the story is simple enough to really give that kind of attention to the environment and the visual style of it, and just the sort of feel and tone of it. I really enjoy. I think Inarritu really does an amazing job with the visuals of his movies, and I really like showing people it too, because it's got a very specific feel, which is just cold. It's just cold and miserable, and I really dig it. Also, I'm kind of a sucker for revenge stories, so kind of makes sense why I like John Wick how much I do. This next one I've only seen once, but I really want to show other people just to kind of gauge their reactions to it and see how they think about it. Saint Maud. I remember when this movie was being advertised on YouTube, when I still got ads on YouTube, and it was just relentless marketing, and it came across as one of those movies where, like, okay, it's being marketed so much, they're probably desperate for people to see it, so it must not be that good, right? And then after it came out, I didn't really hear anything about it, but I checked it out on Amazon Prime because it was free on there, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I think that as far as a horror movie goes, it's one of the better ones I've seen. And not that it's a straight horror movie. I would say it's more of a character study thriller film. Almost kind of like Joker in a way, but a little more creepy with its elements, and follows a British woman instead of an American male in the 70s. But I love Saint Maud, and I'm excited to check that one out again. This is probably second place for not great movie covers, but excellent movie in of itself. There Will Be Blood. It's not that it's like a bad cover necessarily. It's just generic. It's just Daniel Day-Lewis standing there with a pipe and an exploding oil rig behind him. Like, it's not anything special, the cover, but the movie itself is great. I think it's Paul Thomas Anderson's best, and I love Daniel Day-Lewis in it. I think he kills it. One of the best character study movies I think I've ever seen, and I really think the performances and the writing and the dialogue specifically carry that forward. And Paul Dano's great in it too. It's one of those movies where he gets the shit beat out of him constantly, and it's pretty entertaining. This next one is just barely above the Safdie brothers' other movie, Good Time, but Uncut Gems, without a doubt my favorite Adam Sandler. I'm not huge on his comedies, but I think in terms of being an actor in a serious role, I think he kills it in this one, at least. I haven't seen Punch Drunk Love yet, and my only other experience with it besides Uncut Gems is Meyerowitz Stories, and I think he did a great job in that too. But that was more of a sort of realistic, grounded comedy. But this one, anxiety, just throughout the whole thing. The Safdie brothers do a great job at making you feel miserable. This next one is, yeah, I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but I recommend you watch Velocipaster because it is unironically an amazing movie. I will preach it. I will preach it till the day I die. Get it? Because he's a pastor. Next one. This one is the one that Drew gifted me with 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. And it is really good film. I shouldn't even say that because that's doing it a disservice. It's an excellent film. Well shot, very well acted, and I think that the leads kill it. It's Whiplash by Damien Chazelle. Yay! We finally revealed it. No, seriously, like, excellent movie. Very excellent. I mean, what else can I say about it? If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's one of those movies where if you love movies, I feel like you have to watch Whiplash. And I don't think I've met anybody that dislikes it. There are people that I've shown it to or I've watched it with that were kind of put off by the amount of swearing in it, but that's pretty much the closest I've gotten to meeting someone who actually doesn't like Whiplash. So I'm curious if they're out there. I'm sure they are. This next one I actually haven't seen. This was also a gift from Drew, and I need to check it out, but I just haven't had the time because it's so long, and it's The Wolf of Wall Street. And I'm going to check it out eventually. It's one of those dealios where I know I need to watch it, but it's just hard to find the time sometimes, with different things going on and whatnot. So that's the end of my Blu Ray collection, but I have a couple of normal DVDs that I can touch on, I guess. So I'm going to first do this one. It's not going to be in alphabetical order because there's only two of them. So this is Super Mario Brothers live action movie. We talked about this recently on the podcast in contrast to the new Super Mario Brothers movie. Well, not new Super Mario Brothers like the game, but the animated one by Illumination. And it's kind of got a reputation, If you don't know anything about it, it's a live action Mario Brothers movie made in 1993, and it stars Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, and it's very of the time. It doesn't feel anything really like Mario, Like even back then Mario had an aesthetic and a style, and it was whimsical, it was jovial, but for some reason with this movie they decided to go almost Blade Runner-esque, kind of industrial lizard evolution type angle with it. And it's weird. It's very weird. There's some stuff about it I admire and respect, like the production design is really, you can tell they put a lot of work into it, at least. And I think that at the very least John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins have good chemistry. So that's probably the most I can say about the movie in a positive way. Otherwise, everything else is just a hot mess. This next one is one of my newest favorites, and I am so sad that I am not able to legally acquire it on Blu-ray in the United States. I need to get a region-free Blu-ray player eventually so I can solve this issue, but right now I have it on digital. I own it on digital in HD, so I can watch it at least in good quality. But just in case, because you never know how owning anything digital will go, you really don't have that much ownership over it. It's pretty much you own it because the company says you can own it until they take it away from you. So that's why I have a standard DVD version of it. And it's Funny Games with Naomi Watts, Tim Roth, Michael Pitt, Brady Corbett. And it is one of my new favorite movies ever. I think it does an amazing job of taking the concept of a horror thriller film and flipping it on its head, but still doing it in a way where it's a great horror thriller film. Michael Haneke is, I think he just really amazingly directs this movie, and it feels really meticulous in the way that it's made. And I love it. I think that it's excellent. I love talking to people about it. I know it's one of those movies that isn't for everybody. I can absolutely see some people watching this after I recommend it to them and them absolutely hating it. But it's one of those movies where if they hate it, not only do I understand, but I kind of find a little bit of fun in that, funny games, get it? But on a more, meaningful note, it is one of those things where if you love the movie, I love talking to you about how much you love the movie, and if you hate the movie, I also love talking to you about how much you might hate the movie. And I think that there's an interesting conversation to be had on both ends of the spectrum, you know? But I'll stop talking about that because that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's not a big collection, it's not anything extensive. I am going to continue to grow it. I'm going to keep acquiring Blu rays. I actually haven't bought one in a long time, really, because I've just been so busy with other stuff. But like making this video. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Thank you for over 200 subscribers. I know it's slowly crawling up there. I appreciate you guys watching or listening to the podcast or watching any of the other videos and content that I make. It's pretty much, you know, just something that I do for fun. I'm not making any money or anything, not yet, God willing, but it's something that I like to do. Keeps me busy, maybe keeps me sane in a way, because it gives me something to do and talk about with people, and I appreciate that I can at least do this with a few eyes watching. But that's it from me. I am going to sign off. Hopefully this was a nice insight into what I actually look like and sound like. I know you guys are used to a disembodied voice or have maybe only seen pictures of me, but here's an actual video. So there you go. Maybe in the future you'll see Mac in a video. I don't know. We'll have to work something out. But until then, appreciate it. This is Kyle, signing off.